Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are. I'm your host, thatlitastrochick, the channel where we discuss the natal charts of writers, artists, and anyone else that I find interesting. So for today's natal chart, I wanted to discuss some trending topics news that has come up again because I wanted to watch the gossip blogs and read and watch the videos over what has been alleged. But the rapper, Chance the Rapper, has announced on social media that he has separated from his wife. And there has been a lot of speculation as to what has been going on with it. And I think the reason is because we all have a persona idea of Chance the Rapper, of how he's such a good guy, he's really woke, he's a good rapper. How on earth could this go wrong? I'm certain that a lot of people could have seen them as being relationship goals in some way, and they could have been idolized because of what they represented, like Black power, Black pride, Black love, Black creativity, Blackity, Black. And it's sad when people split up. I also think it's interesting because Chance is an Aries sun, and currently that's what the nodal axis is on. So there could have been some talks of a divorce before. Now, I wanted to do a comparison for their Synastry reading to understand what could possibly be going on in between the two of them. So I wanted to just drop a very quick video. So in regards to that, Chance the Rapper was born on April 16th, 1993. His wife, Kirsten Gilbert, was born on May 31st, 1993. We don't have the time. Both of them were born in Chicago, Illinois. So the first thing that I noticed about Chance's chart individually is that his sun squares his Mars. As I said before, he is an Aries sun at that 26th degree. But what's interesting is that he has his Mars at the 24th degree of Cancer. So that 24th degree can refer to someone who could be very blessed. They could be very gifted in terms of their ancestors. They could have also come from many past lives where they had good karma. And this also does show more of a connection to his heritage. And I think that when it comes to Chance, we do think of him as being one of the more positive examples when it comes to hip hop industry, because so much of it is filled with a lot of drill music and kill music and things of that sort. And it's really nice that he is so positive as well as being so lyrical. In fact, one of the favorite challenges that I've seen that's come across social media was his So Gone challenge, where he rapped a beat to the singer Monica's smash hit So Gone, and then so many other people also rapped a beat to that. I just thought it was really positive and really fun, and I could see how this could relate to his Cancer Mars, because Mars deals with our face card. I like to think of Mars as in if somebody talked to us on the phone and they did not know what we looked like, or if they didn't know who we were, then this would most likely be the sign placement that they would have for us. And I do think that that is very much a strong part of his identity, is culturally speaking who he is. However, Mars is in a it's not a good place when it's in Cancer, but I did want to point that out. I do also want to say that because his sun squares his Mars, there's going to be a lot about Chance that we don't know right now. And I do have a feeling like this is going to come out in terms of his divorce proceedings, because he does have his Venus in opposition to his Jupiter in Libra. So I could take this as an interpretation that there will most likely be accusations of an affair that came out. There's also most likely going to be more of an emphasis on how he could be more selfish than maybe how we might see him. That this actually could be a very strong persona. I also want to say that because he does have his sun square Mars, this could also attract a lot of fights in his life. Now, to go on to Kristen's chart, because I wanted to look at them together as opposed to individually like I did for Drea and Jay's chart. Kristen's sun is conjunct to her south node. So Kirsten and Chance, they're both Sagittarius north nodes. They are Gemini south nodes. So what that means is that in this particular lifetime, both of them are supposed to learn how to be more honest, as well as in how to accept the truth about who they are. These are this North Node, it's going to be considered to be one of the busier ones because they're going to have a lot of situations and a lot of positions in which they'll be judged. And because Kirsten's South Node is conjunct to her Sun at the 10th degree of Gemini, and her South Node is at the 12th degree of Gemini. This means that Kirsten has a lot of karmic debt, specifically when it comes to men, as well as when it comes to children, as well as recreations and investments. So this could be a very strong challenge for her in terms of approaching more of that North Node status, because as a Gemini Sun, she is going to be someone who will be far more invested in terms of embracing the versatility of her life. This also, I think, could point to why they got married when they were relatively young, because Gemini is one of the signs of youth. So I did think that part was interesting, especially because since their North Nodes are conjunct, this might mean that they're going to go on a similar life path. However, Kirsten being a Gemini Sun, this is in fact a Sun South Node hookup that they have going on in their chart. So I would say that when it comes to their own evolution, eventually they were going to part ways. So that I did think was very interesting within her chart. Another interesting aspect that I found is that her Mars is conjunct to her Chiron in Leo. And both of them have a Chiron in Leo in their chart. So this could mean that perhaps for Kirsten, she could feel a lack of talent, or as though she's not very talented, or her self-expression might be stifled a little bit with that Leo Chiron, and it might come out in more either in ways to where she could overcompensate. Maybe she could be someone where she could pretend like she loves herself very much, but deep down inside she may not, or she bother with it. But I would sense that she most likely has an air of confidence about herself that might be a bit of a front. And this could also give way to a lot of fights, because Mars also deals with the way that we fight. So that aspect I do think is interesting. And I will get to that specifically in terms of the synastry that they have together. Another interesting aspect I would say is that I do believe that Kirsten especially is going to remain single after this. And I say that because she does have her Venus at that 24th degree of Aries. And that is squaring her Uranus, which is at the 21st degree of Capricorn. So Venus square Uranus, that's going to deal with a lot of fights, a lot of discord, a lot of an inability to have a romantic relationship that's going to be long lasting in this particular lifetime. This also might refer to some sort of a scandal that might come out in terms of the relationships that they've had or the way that they react to each other. And I say that because her Sun is making a quincunx to her Neptune. So there could have been realities about the marriage that perhaps she could have avoided or could have been deluded about. And then in Chance's chart, he has his Uranus and Neptune, and those are both squaring his Sun. So there could have been a possibility of perhaps lying. I would suspect that the lying would be more on Chance's part because of that square. And then maybe for Kirsten, she could have tried to have kept up this delusion, or could refer to things that would have been further away and maybe not within her control so much. And I say that because her Mars is also, it's running a quincunx, the Uranus and the Neptune as well. So I think that she would have probably tried to make this work. I think that maybe the two who might be more stable as far as maintaining the marriage goes, it would have been Kirsten, because her Venus and her Mars trine. However, Chance the Rapper's Venus, it squares with his Mars. So I don't really think that romantic relationships are really going to be for Chance, and he might have that a lot sooner than Kirsten did. So let's go ahead and let's talk about their synastry together. The first one that I have is that Chance's moon, it squares... Sorry, I'm not going to talk about the moon first. I'm going to talk about his Uranus. His Uranus, which is at the 22nd degree of Capricorn, it squares her Venus, which is in the 24th degree of Aries. So this to me says that when it came to who probably was trying to run things more in the relationship, I think that this was actually him. He may have been very insistent about getting his way, so having it be like his way or no way. Or there could have been more of a pressure for Kirsten to take on the lead that that Chance was asking her to take on. And I say that because a Capricorn, of course, it deals with longevity. It deals with things that may happen for a long time. It also deals with status as well as with a reputation. So I do see this aspect as being one where maybe Kirsten could be a little bit more in tune with being a little bit faster moving because of that Venus and Aries. I do see this as in maybe Chance being the one who could have been more like, oh, it's my way or it's no way. I definitely could. A lot of fights that could have happened with that. And in addition to that, even though I know that we have to take the moon with a salt, his Uranus, it also squares her moon. So there could have been more of an objective aspect to it, specifically on his part. This could have possibly referred to maybe where he would have once again been more insistent upon getting what he wants. He also could have maybe been more focused on trying to keep up appearances as opposed to what she could have needed. This also could have been an aspect that could have potentially spoken with maybe like she was flirting with somebody, because that Libra moon, it can be very flirtatious, and maybe he like shut that down, or maybe he could have been flirtatious. I know that we did see the video about how he was going to, about how he was, I think at Carnival, he was at some sort of festival, and some lady was twerking on him. And they're trying to point it out as though that was the reason as to why they split up. I don't think that was the reason as to why they split up. Another interesting aspect in their chart is that Chance's Cancer Mars, it also squares Kirsten's Venus and Aries. This could actually point to maybe having a lot of fights in the home. There possibly could be weapons in the home. There could have been a potential threat in terms of DV, allegedly. But I mean that because they both have a Venus and Aries that's going to be very fast moving, and Venus is at its detriment in Aries. And in addition to that, Mars is at its detriment when it's in Cancer. So I do see this as in like maybe there could have been some sort of action that could have been fast moving. And then perhaps what he could have done was he could have perhaps maybe reacted in a way that could have been really emotional, that could have been very big, that could have most likely happened in the home. I don't think that he would have done this out in public, and that's why we don't know about it. But there could be a very strong possibility of that with this particular aspect. There are most likely a lot of fights that were going on in the home. And this also could have been an aspect to where he could have third. This also could be maybe why now they have decided to move. I don't think that these two are together anymore. I think that this was more of based along the lines that they have been separated for a while, and now they're just coming out and they're telling people. And I do also want to say, because she does have that Mars conjunct to Chiron and Leo, this combination could have led to a lot of very explosive fights that could have happened within the home. They do have a lot of energy that, to me, says that when it came to their home life, they would have been more private with the way that they conducted themselves. Another interesting aspect that I see is that Chance's moon as well as his Saturn, because those are conjunct. So this to me says that maybe he would have been more focused on trying to keep this together. This also could speak to having a desire for order and structure within the home, as well as a long-term commitment that he would have had with her or wanted to have with her. However, despite the best interest to try to keep it all together. And this is also because Saturn is exalted when it's in Aquarius. It refers to someone where they eventually learn how to take more responsibility and order and structure, and the way that they can conduct themselves when it comes to their friendships, when it comes to how they manage their networks. Now, with said, those are both squaring Kirsten's midheaven. And her midheaven, this is going to depend on the time of birth that she could be born at. So her midheaven could either be in Taurus or it could be in Gemini. So either later degree Taurus or an earlier degree Gemini. I would possibly take this as in he could have maybe encouraged her to put more of her energy towards the home and maybe could have held her back a little bit in terms of her career or the ways that she wanted to cultivate her public image. And like I said, this is all allegedly, this is just according to the chart that I'm able to see. This could have, and this is also depending on the degree of the moon. This also could have meant that she could have put more energy towards the home, and then also with that moon conjunct Saturn in Chance's chart, this could also speak to a possibility of wanting to have more of a stable long-term home structure, and then maybe either requesting that Kirsten not focus as much on her job and then be maintained in the home. I do also see with this aspect, with his moon conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, that he most likely did really want to have a long-term or commitment or a marriage. This could have been a marriage that could have lasted for a very long time and also would have been very profitable to him in some way. And I say that because he does have both of those at the 28th degree, which is a very strong moneymaker aspect in astrology. This also, though, could have pointed to where maybe he could have held her back and he could have maybe perhaps had her stifled in some way. So I do think that when it came to this marriage in terms of how it was to formulate his public opinion, he definitely was the one who had more of an advantage in that sense. I also want to say that because of having that moon in Aquarius, there also could have been a lot of sudden upsets that could have made him seem to be very willful and also very unreasonable. So I did want to point that out as well. Another aspect that I do think is also very interesting is that his Mars is opposition to her Neptune. So that also could have pointed to a lot of really big fights, and then maybe she could have felt stifled, like maybe she didn't really want to talk about it, or that maybe she didn't really have like a very support system. It also could point to where maybe she could have felt very stifled by it. And I do get that in their charts because individually his Mars is running in a quincunx to his Saturn. And in Kirsten's chart, why can't I talk? In Kirsten's chart, it's also having a similar aspect as well. So this could point to having a lot of blow-ups, a lot of fights, and then maybe one of them apologizing for potentially what has happened, what has gone on within those fights. And that could be a very damaging aspect to both for the marriage. I did want to talk a little bit more about some of the more positive aspects that I see in there. One of them is that his moon, it does trine her Mercury in Gemini. So they probably did have a very strong communal aspect when it came to their sharing of ideas. This also could point to where maybe they did get to know each other at a very young age. I mean, they're both pretty young. So I do see this as being a very positive aspect in terms of the expression of their feelings. His Mars trines her Pluto. So there could be some sort of expectation of support. This could possibly come in the form of maybe like child support or alimony that that Kirsten is going to get from this. Another positive aspect that I do really like is that his Jupiter, it trines with her Sun. So this could be an aspect that could refer to how he could have been very instrumental in developing her spiritual beliefs, as well as her connection with the high power, her connection with other people. And because they both have Jupiters and Libras, this is meant that in this lifetime they will get married in order to like discover this faith or this luck that they could have. But do I this as being a marriage that should last forever, that it should have lasted forever? I mean, like I would say no. And I say that because, like, for one, they're both Sag North nodes, and Sagittarius is usually known as being like the wanderer of the zodiac. The entire world is their oyster, and that's a karmic lesson that they're both going to have to learn. I do think that this is going to become a little bit harder for Kirsten to learn because she does have that Sun conjunct to her South node. And I think that this marriage was supposed to bring forth expansion for both of them, especially in Kirsten's place, because she does have her Saturn at the 0 degree of Pisces. And I believe currently she's going through her Saturn return. So this could be a very pivotal moment, specifically in her life. And what she's supposed to learn in this lifetime is she's supposed to learn from that Saturn lesson, those harsh karmic lessons, is to embrace her spirituality more. And I do believe that she really does have a strong opportunity for that, because it is at that 0 degree. So the 0 degree in astrology, it can refer to a degree that is either going to be very successful or to where it could possibly tank. And I think that for her, this is a struggle, because her sun, it squares her Saturn. So she most likely doesn't feel as though she has a lot of control in specific aspects of her life. I suspect that she may feel like he has more control of his life because his Sun and Saturn sextile, but there's definitely key parts of himself that we do not know about. And I say it because of that Uranus conjunct to Neptune squaring his Sun. And this particular time, I do think that there's going to most likely be some backlash that he'll experience, that Chance will experience because of that. Venus and Jupiter opposition. We're probably going to find out. I don't think that the twerker was the he was with like that. And lastly, I do want to talk about their nodal status. Having a Sag North node, that means that both of them are going to be put in positions where they're going to be judged a lot. And I think in particular, this could refer to maybe challenges that Chance will have in terms of his public reputation. And I say that because his North Node is at the 14th degree of Sagittarius. And the number 14, it can denote challenges, specifically when it comes to movement, as well as with that public image, because of the number 1 next to the number 4 in terms of the numerology of it. And on Kirsten's level, she also has her North Node at the 12th degree of Sagittarius. So that's going to refer to a sacrifice that she has most likely had to make. I think that there was most likely a lot of stifling in terms of the namesake that she wanted to make for herself, because she does have her Mars and her Chiron squaring her Pluto in Scorpio. And she most likely did give up a lot in order to make this marriage work, as well as to be very much concerned with her, because she does have that Libra. She does have that Libra influence with the moon and the Jupiter, both in those signs. So it will be interesting to see what's going to come of this in terms of their upcoming divorce. Chance at this point is, on his node return, and Kirsten is on her Saturn return. So this was going to be a time for a lot of big change for them. But it would, be really interesting. What do you think? Do you think that that Chance and Kirsten are going to be going forward with the divorce? Do you think that there's going to be a lot more that's going to meet the eye with this couple? I would really love to know your thoughts. Please like and share and comment below, and watch out for the next video.